Decision. A conclusion or resolution reached after consideration. The action or process of deciding something or of resolving a question. A formal judgment. Dictionary.com. Everyone makes decisions. Whether it's to sharpen your pencil or not, or to ask out that girl or boy you've been crushing on, decisions are made every day with every task you complete. Decisions, important or not, make a huge impact in your everyday life. In psychology, decision-making, different from the decision itself, is regarded as the cognitive process resulting in the selection of a belief or a course of action among several alternate possibilities. So then what goes into the decision-making process? When a person makes a well-thought-out decision, it is usually accompanied by awareness of the situation, past experience, or maybe even help from an adult. But more often than not, we might find ourselves facing the consequences of a horrible decision. So then what goes into poor decision-making skills, you may ask? When people allow their ego to grow too big and overtake all else, their ethics, conscience, and priorities ditches them. Thus, all proper decision-making skills are transparent, and an unsatisfactory decision is bound to occur. Casey at the Bat by Ernest Lawrence Thoyer is a mock epic, a poem that mocks the epic style of poetry through a sarcastic, satiric story that tells the story of Casey, the hero of the baseball team, who in a critical situation lets the team down. In the poem, Casey's team is playing an important game. There are 2 outs, 2 people in scoring position, and Casey is up at bat. The other team is winning 4-2. Everyone is confident he will come through and score the runners in because he never fails, but his ego interferes, and he takes strike 1. Casey thinks he's such a good player that he doesn't even have to swing the bat to get a hit, score the runners in, and tie the game. He takes strike 2. Now the nerves are on. He knows he has to swing. I just can't strike out, he thinks. The fastball comes over the plate. Casey swings, misses, and ultimately lets the team down. Once Casey let his ego get too big, he made the decision to strike out. Adam Grant, PhD, discusses this phenomenon in his article, How to Escape from Bad Decisions, where he discusses escalation of commitment to losing a course of action. He gives the example that if you're in a restaurant waiting to be seated for 45 minutes, and there's no sign that your table will be ready, it's very difficult to cut your losses and go to a new restaurant, even if that's the smarter choice. But you think, I've waited 45 minutes already, so how can I leave? And so you invest more time just to be wasted. This is the trap called escalation of commitment to losing a course of action. New evidence reveals that the biggest culprit behind escalation is your ego. We don't want to be seen or see ourselves as failures, so we keep wasting resources hoping it'll eventually work out. Disney's 2010 animated adaptation of Rapunzel, Tangled, tells the story of beautiful Princess Rapunzel who has been kidnapped and locked away in a tower since she was captured by an old hag since she was little. Rapunzel possesses the power to grant eternal youth using her blonde hair, and Gothel, her kidnapper, takes advantage of this power to keep herself from aging. The story continues with 18-year-old Rapunzel, who is curious about the outside world when a prince uses her tower as refuge and agrees to help her escape to see the outside world. The movie is great, and I love seeing Rapunzel and Flynn Rider, the prince, get closer and closer together and how the relationship progresses. But just for this video, I'd like to focus on Mother Gothel's character. Mother Gothel has a very big ego, and her ego leads her to making a horrible decision to kidnap Princess Rapunzel. Gothel wouldn't dare to let anyone have contact with Rapunzel because she relies on her for her magical youth-granting powers. She thinks that only her deserves the power and no one else should be allowed to use it, and that's why she kidnaps Rapunzel. She would even go so far to try to kill people who interact with Rapunzel. The movie Tangled shows how an egotistical person can do some pretty bad actions, but the theme of the movie is kindness. Rapunzel is kind to everyone and everything she meets. And at one point in the story, Flynn nearly dies for Rapunzel. That's true kindness, and even more than kindness, that's true courage. Tangled shows that people who are kind happily prevail, and the egotistical villains always die. Although egotistical people in real life are usually never killing and kidnapping people like Gothel did, the movie takes it to an extreme to show young kids to be nice and not to only think for themselves. Excessive egos can even be seen in business situations. Jeff Wolf, RCC, business specialist and president of Wolf Management Consultants, tackles ego's harm to decision making in his article, The Cost of Ego. He states, big egos invade every team conversation, boardroom debate, marketing plan, client interaction, contract negotiation, employment interviews, and performance reviews. There's no question it gets in the way and is a major cause of bad decision making. He says the biggest signs of ego in business are hearing but not listening, people thinking me first, company second, only the right people have good ideas, pressure to fit in, failure to challenge status quo, candid discussion saved for outside the meeting, failures being buried and never mentioned again, silos created and tolerated, meetings going longer than necessary, fear of making mistakes or admitting to them. Companies can be populated with talented, high IQ people with no shortage of vision, education, experience, or good intentions, yet they still might have an undercurrent of out-of-control egos responsible for huge losses in productivity and profits. The information he presents is still very useful in acknowledging how your ego can be slowing you down or creating unnecessary problems in your everyday life. Anyway, in our society, most of our egos are well sustained. But to the big egoed people out there, I want you to remember to just take it back a couple notches. Remember, it's not all about you. You should be cooperative and ultimately just be kind to the people around you, because simple traits like these in life can save you from making a simple bad decision or even a poor decision that can change your entire life for the worst. So what I want to leave you guys with is to remember to just be nice. Thank you.